I am an ex-Mormon millennial divorcee, Pisces sun, Pisces moon, Leo rising. The astrology on this page is for people that are barely getting into astrology beyond the sun sign. It's for understanding the building blocks of a chart and putting those pieces together in a way that tells a story. This is a safe space for people who are not spiritual, who are exploring different ideas around their spirituality, who are deconstructed and not reconstructed yet. It's open-minded and open-ended. Don't feel like you need to fit some kind of label to get something out of the content here. I'm glad to have you. There's so much astrology content online. And yet when I was learning it, I still had such a hard time piecing just the basic stuff together. Because I started learning astrology from zero. Like, I didn't follow any of it. I knew I was Pisces and that's it. I didn't know anything else about the elements, the modality, none of it. None. I didn't understand that had to do with the seasons, nothing. So that's why I decided to kind of post things and show other people how I look at it, because I really needed that. I needed somebody to show me this literally basic ground zero stuff. If you're going to dabble in astrology, you need to know what the ecliptic is. Certain parts of our night sky, like the Big Dipper and the North Star, are visible all year round, right? Those constellations can be visible in the spring, summer, fall, winter, whatever. Other constellations like Orion or others that I don't care about because Orion's my favorite, they can only be seen for certain parts of the year. Orion can only be seen in the winter. In the central part of the sky is the ecliptic. This is the area where planets can be seen. This is the part where the sun rises and sets, where the moon rises and sets. And all of the planets that can be visible with the naked eye, which is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, end of list, they also rise and set, right? Depending on where they're at in relation to the sun. If they can be seen in the sky, rising and setting, whatever. That central corridor is called the ecliptic. And the ecliptic is the outside of an astrology wheel. Okay? This rises and sets over the eastern horizon and sets over on the western horizon, right? This is for when Saturn enters Aries on the 13th. But these planets are embedded into this ecliptic. In tropical astrology, these zodiac signs represent 30-degree portions of the ecliptic. So the sun in this chart is right here. It would rise and set. Like, it stays at whatever the held sign, 25 degrees. I knew that. It's right here, never mind. 25 degrees of Aquarius for the entire day. But by the end of the day, it will have moved a little bit within this sign to 26 degrees, and then it will rise and set at 26 degrees, and then the next day it will have moved a little bit. Each planet has different speeds at which they move through the ecliptic. Understanding what the ecliptic is going to give you the foundation to understand what retrograde means, what the nodes of the moon are. If I did not understand astrology until I understood, this is the sky. Okay, this is each area. It's 30-degree increments of the ecliptic part of the sky, which is where you can see planets. It's the corridor which the planets pass through. If you're just getting into astrology, it's so hard to figure out what's the zodiac sign versus what's the planet mean and what does the house mean in the chart. The zodiac sign is the section of the ecliptic that the planet resides in. Think of it like an energy. The certain zodiac sign has a certain energy to it, and the planet comes into that sign. The planet has a specific part of your personality that it expresses. The sun is your ego, the moon is your emotions, Mercury is the logical mind, and when it goes into a given zodiac sign, the energy of that sign is infused into that planet, and that planet, through its own lens expresses the energy of that sign. Then we have the houses of the zodiac. There's 12 houses, and each house is a different area of your life. It's like the stage that that planet may perform on. So if you have a planet in a specific house, it's going to be the energy of that planet is going to be very on display in that house. You will see the influence of that planet in that particular area of your life, especially. So the zodiac sign is the section of the ecliptic. It's the energy. It's kind of the energy that is available to a planet entering into that sign. The planet has a specific part of your personality. It's like an actor, and it plays its part in your personality, and the way that it plays its part is influenced by the zodiac energy that it's infused in. Then the house is like the stage. It's a specific part of your life that the planet may play out that role. It does get a little bit more complicated than that because each zodiac sign has a planetary ruler and you can use it to find out more information about that house. But we'll talk about that in a different video. Do you use Placidus or whole sign house when you do astrology? What does that mean? Let me show you. So I'm going to show you the same chart 3 times. First with no houses, then with Placidus, and then with whole sign. So this is no houses on it. This is the new moon later this week. When you don't have a time for something, or if you don't have a house system, it'll put Aries here, and then it will bring everything around like this. It'll just default to this because this is kind of the natural chart. Like Aries first house, Taurus second house, blah, 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 all the way around. In Placidus house system, the degree that's on the eastern horizon becomes the beginning of the first house. So at the time of this new moon where I live, it's at like 5 a.m. It's at 26 degrees of Capricorn. You can't see that part. That's the beginning of the first house. Then, because it's so early in the morning, the sun's not quite up yet, right? This sun will come over. It's 5 a.m., maybe by 6 a.m. This whole part of the ecliptic will be up here, and it would be like a 12th house sun as the sun comes up, right? But in Placidus, the angles are the cusps of the house. So this is the cusp of the first house. This is the IC line is the cusp of the 4th house. The descendant is the cusp of the 7th house. And the MC line is the cusp of the 10th house. Why the hell are the sizes of the houses so different in Placidus house system? Look, this first house is so big, Aquarius is just swallowed up inside the first house. In Placidus house system, the cusp of each house is based on where the sun will be at that day every 2 hours, okay? Right now, it's February, and the sun isn't up for very long during the day, right? It sets like 5:30 here. So the highest it ever gets in the sky, this is where it would be at noon. That's what the zenith is. That's what the MC line is where the sun would be at noon on that day. And Placidus house system, where the sun would be at 2 hours after sunrise, is here. 2 hours after that is here. That's 10 a.m. 2 hours after that. You know what I'm saying? And that delineates the cusps of each house. Whole sign house doesn't do all that. Whole sign uses the 30 degrees of each sign in the ecliptic to be the house itself. So in this chart, remember it was a Capricorn rising at 26 degrees. That's still true in whole sign house, but the first house starts at 0 degrees of Capricorn in this chart, okay? And instead of Aquarius being swallowed up inside that first house, it has its own house, second house, third house. But you'll see, because that chart was intercepted, look, instead of that IC line being the beginning of the 4th house, in whole sign, it's all the way over into 5th. That's not always the case in whole sign, but because of where I live and because we really don't get a lot of sun this time of year, the midheaven is all the way over into 11th house in whole sign. And then instead of the IC line being in 4th house, it's in 5th. This changes the chart a lot. There's different techniques to get different information out of a whole sign chart. And in Placidus, it might be like harder to learn but easier to master. I don't know if everybody would agree with that or not. But now you know the basic difference between Placidus and whole sign house. Today on Astrology 101, we're talking about the modalities of each sign in tropical astrology. What does cardinal mean? Cardinal sign, that's a modality. So any sign that begins a season is a cardinal sign. We just had the fall equinox. That's the beginning of Libra season. That begins on the fall equinox. Winter solstice is the beginning of winter, and that is the beginning of Capricorn season. Spring equinox is the first day of Aries season, and summer solstice is the first day of Cancer season. So those are cardinal signs. They initiate a new season. And then we have the signs that are in the middle of each season. Those are fixed signs. Taurus is fixed. Leo is fixed. Scorpio is fixed. Fixed sign is right in the middle of fall. Really settling in. It's not the summer energy into fall. It's not starting fall. It's fall season. It's Day of the Dead. It's everything settling. Immutable signs end each season. So Gemini bridges the gap between spring and summer. Virgo bridges the gap between summer and fall. Sagittarius bridges the gap between fall and winter. And then Pisces bridges the gap between winter and spring. I want to show you guys a couple things that really helped me learn astrology and what I send to people when I am doing private readings for them to understand the themes of each house and kind of how you can fit everything together. Here we have the themes of all of the zodiac houses. I send this out. So we've got 1st house, your appearance, 2nd house, house of value. Where am I at? 3rd house, communication, siblings, network. 4th house, I just scratch this out. I got this online. Family life, early life. 5th house, house of creation. 6th house, house of daily routines, habits, routines, roles. 7th house of partnerships. It's, romance and also business. 8th house, death, taxes. It's house of death. It's everything inevitable in life. I put sex there. 9th house of beliefs. 10th house, career, public image, what you're known for. 11th house, I put friendships here. Friendships, groups. I put social justice here as well. And then 12th house is kind of like house of the beyond. It's house of the hidden, subconscious, intuition, accessing the collective. This was long. I'm going to actually make a part 2 for the second one. I want to learn astrology. You have to understand the associations between the zodiac signs, the houses, and the planetary rulers. And I like a graphic with the circle house system to do that. Here we have an infographic of the sign, the house that they're associated, and the planetary ruler. So you can go around the chart here. Kind of has a keyword for each thing. This is something that I send to people when I do private readings for them so that they can try to follow along in their circle chart and understand how to read it themselves. Because when I read for people, I really want them to be able to learn astrology if they want. And I try to tailor the readings in the same language that I use in these videos in order to help people track what's going on in their charts so that they don't have to keep paying for readings. Today, let's talk about tropical versus sidereal astrology. Sometimes, I didn't even know what sidereal astrology was for a really long time. Tropical astrology is what most people use in the Western hemisphere. The Western world mostly uses tropical astrology. Back in the day, when astrology started, the signs, the constellations, were in specific 30-degree increments of the ecliptic. They were selected as the zodiac signs because they were the signs that are in the ecliptic. It was a way to track where the planetary bodies were located as they moved through each sign, literally. As time has gone on, those constellations have drifted out of, because we have planetary tilt, and those constellations have drifted slightly out of the ecliptic or into different kind of locations on that ecliptic. Originally, the first day of spring was when Aries was on the eastern horizon in the morning. So now tropical astrology continues not to necessarily look at where the planets are in the sky in terms of the constellation, but where they are in relation to spring equinox, the solstices, vernal equinox, because that is the beginning of each season. So the beginning of Aries season is always on the first day of spring, and the beginning of Cancer season is always the first day of summer. The first day of fall is always Libra season, and the first day of winter is always the first day of Capricorn season. That is how we do it in Western astrology. We use those points as the reference rather than the actual constellations themselves. So I'll explain why I like to use tropical astrology. Number one, it's the one that I learned. I learned it first. And I learned it a little bit in whole sign and a little bit in Placidus. And so I kind of, for me, I split the difference between the two of those. I use both. But tropical astrology in my brain makes a little bit more sense than sidereal astrology, because every society that keeps track of the stars knows when those solstices are and knows when those equinoxes are. And there are countless examples across the globe of the keeping of time based on those positions in the cosmos, versus the astrological signs that we use in Western astrology are Greek. And I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying that they're arbitrary. Those are man-made. Those were invented. Changing the astrology based on where the constellations are at doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think that the constellations were selected as a way to keep track of where the planets are at in the ecliptic, to be able to organize the information and split the year up between the equinoxes and the solstices. So for me, I choose to use tropical astrology because I feel like the concepts that it includes are a little bit more universal. And that is not to say that you can't get anything out of sidereal astrology. It's not to say that any other society's astrology is wrong or bad. Tropical's just what I came up with, what I started with. And for the reasons I mentioned, it makes sense enough to me in my mind that I will be continuing to use it.